So, moving on to a film that I'm kind of excited to talk about because it's a sci-fi classic, 80s classic. Maybe it's not a classic. It might lean towards a cult classic more, but we're talking about David Cronenberg's Scanners. I saw this was on HBO Max when I watched The Little Things, and I was like, ooh, I've never seen this, and I've always known that one scene. I've always seen that, but I've never watched the full movie. So if you're unfamiliar with Scanners, it's about it's a world where people with telepathic abilities exist, and they call them scanners. Now, the primary populace of the world does not know that these scanners exist. Like, they're just kind of starting to become discovered. And it's about this one particular scanner named Revik, who's like the bad guy, the villain of the film. He's gathering together a group of scanners to do something bad, what bad guys do. And in this film, our main character is another scanner who was found by a particular company and is trained and mentored, well, not mentored, more trained, and to seek out Revik and stop whatever he's trying to do and, save the world, basically. So that's the synopsis. That's what I'm going to reveal about the film. The cast there's really no one that familiar in it other than Michael Ironside, who plays Revik. He's known to play these villain characters, and he's in Total Recall. He plays Richter. He's the bad guy in Total Recall too. He's awesome. He's great in this film. He's great in pretty much everything that he does. He's just one of those actors just dropped my pen. He's just one of those actors that's just solid and awesome. But the director and writer is David Cronenberg, and he's definitely notable. If you're unfamiliar with David Cronenberg, for some reason I thought he directed RoboCop and Total Recall, which is completely false. That's Paul Verhoeven. But Cronenberg did Videodrome and Existenz, which are two films that I want to see that I haven't. He also did History of Violence, which I saw, which is pretty good. Crash, which notoriously won Best Picture over some films. And he also did the Fly remake with Jeff Goldblum, which is an absolute banger of a film. I highly recommend that. So this film, Scanners, also kind of a banger, kind of like The Fly. So I'm just probably kind of gush about how awesome this film is. So like I said, I always wanted to see this full film because of that one infamous scene that I've seen all the time. If you don't know what scene I'm talking about, don't worry about it. It'd be great if don't look it up, just watch the movie. But if you do know what I'm talking about, we're talking chest burster alien scene almost, that whole holy shit, I can't believe that. Whoa. And this film came out in 1981, which was 2 years later than Alien, so that's kind of cool. You know what scene I'm talking about if you've seen this film. But also, just I think the narrative of the film Scanners, I think it's just cool. A scanner trying to stop a scanner from doing something bad, which it's just it's an intriguing film. It gets you invested very quickly. Plus, just the villain also is just kind of badass. It's played by a badass actor, has an awesome name, Revik. I mean, that's kind of a badass villain name if I've ever heard one. And they set him up perfectly, mainly with that scene that I'm talking about. It's in the very beginning. But that scene is just amazing, and it sets him up perfectly. Just also, the scanning ability is just portrayed perfectly by the actors, by the director, the way it's shot, the music and sound design of this film just goes along with it. The music I thought was really cool. It's all I'm gonna describe it as headache inducing, but in a good way. I know that's kind of weird to comprehend. Obviously having a headache is not good, but it just helps with the atmosphere of the film and like, because obviously when someone's getting scanned, that's kind of what's happening. Like your head is aching and like people have nosebleeds and shit, and something maybe a little bit more graphic. A little bit of a spoiler. But yeah, so you can definitely see the influences from a TV show like Stranger Things, which, again, Stranger Things takes a lot from a lot of classic 80s sci-fi, from The Thing and John Carpenter to E.T. and Spielberg, Stephen King, and this film, Scanners, mainly with Eleven and her telekinetic abilities, obviously. With the nosebleeds and some of the music as well, the synths and stuff. I mean, it's very notorious from like 80s sci-fi action films. But yeah. Also, the film just loves shotguns for some reason. Like, I feel like every character in this film has a shotgun. Every character that has a gun has a shotgun, which I felt, I don't know, it was just kind of random and weird. I was just like, do we only have shotguns in this universe? But I thought it was kind of funny. But the main thing that this film does so well, and what Cronenberg just infamously does well, is the practical effects are so good. And they stand up to... I watched this film, I think, on Sunday, like 2 days ago. And this is the year 2021. And this film came out in 1981, 30 fucking years ago. And the effects in this film hold up so much. I love the effects in this film. Like, think of John Carpenter's The Thing. These effects, these practical effects are better than a lot of effects that are used in movies today. They're better than a film that I'm going to talk about on this episode that came out in 2021. So like, holy shit. I mean, it's so impressive and so amazing. I mean, again, if you have a light stomach, it might be a little bit too much for you, because this film does get incredibly graphic. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, for me, I love it. I love effects like this, and I love when films today kind of throw back to effects like this. And his son, I forget what his son's name is, but also goes, has the last name Cronenberg, and he's coming out with films, and he had a film that came out in 2020 that I will be talking about on Friday in my next episode. And that film is the same, has these awesome practical effects that are just absolutely gross, disgusting. But again, also understands tone and the weirdness of his film. I think it's just, again, self-awareness is very important when, I guess, developing or producing a film. And also just, I talk about this a lot, but having a good ending and sticking the landing at the end of your film is so important, because it's the last thing that your audience remembers. And this film has an awesome ending. The climactic ending is so epic and awesome and great and gross. I just loved it. I thought, like, when this film ended and the credits rolled, I was like, that was fucking awesome. Like, that was literally, that's what I said out loud. So yeah, nails the landing for sure. Is this film perfect though? No, I'm not gonna say the film's perfect. Like, the acting at times is not the best, particularly about our main protagonist, Cameron Vale. He's played by Stephen Lack. I looked him up, and he was really in nothing else other than Scanners, which is probably for a reason, because he's not the best in this film. I feel like his performance is quite wooden and stiff, I want to say. But what he does do well is the scanning ability. When he does scan, it's pretty convincing. I feel like that's why Cronenberg casted him, or the casting director casted him, is because he can do the scanning ability incredibly well. But, I mean, you also see Michael Ironside doing it really well, and also being a quality actor in the film. Which also, like, leads me into my next kind of critique. I wish Revok was in the movie more. Like, I wish the villain was in the film a lot more. I mean, he's in it in the beginning, in that beginning scene, and he's in the ending, and like one or two small short scenes in the middle of the film. I just wish they utilized him more because he was clearly the most compelling character out of any of the characters in the film, and I think he was probably the best acted. I mean, he's the most noticeable actor, recognizable actor. So, yeah. Another thing, I think the scanning ability, I mean, it is explained fine, how it's like a connection of a nervous systems. It's not quite just, the connection of the minds. It's like a whole body experience, which I thought was unique and different. But like there's certain moments, like Cameron Vale, our main protagonist, is supposedly really powerful in this scanning ability. And like it's shown where like a multiple people are in one place around him, like he can't control reading their minds and he can't control his power. And then in other parts where he is like in this like decently crowded place, like he can somehow control and he's not like losing his mind. Like it's just kind of confusing how he can sometimes control his ability and sometimes not. I mean, I guess he was trained and stuff, and I feel like that was just kind of glossed over and just there's like one training scene and like that's it. So it's a fast paced film, and I think it could have maybe benefited a little bit more with being like maybe like 10 or 15 minutes longer maybe with that. But I mean, other than those like three random critiques about, the acting, Revik not being in the film that much, and the scanning ability, I feel like needed a little bit more development. Other than that, the film's fucking awesome. I mean, overall, again, it's not the greatest film that I've ever seen, but it's an awesome, under-the-radar, cult classic film that deserves to be watched. And it's on HBO Max. Does it have the movie magic? Does it have Mikey's movie magic? Almost forgot it again this time. I forgot with Pieces of a Woman, but I put it in my my video clip. That film does have the movie magic, by the way. Pieces of a Woman does have the movie magic. Like this one. Scanners also has the movie magic. Mikey's movie magic, absolutely. It's a very, like I said, kind of underrated cult classic. I mean, it's very graphic, so, proceed with caution. There's the beginning and the very end are very, very graphic. So just be warned. But I mean, if that's your thing, kind of like me, you're going to love it. Like if you love The Thing, like John Carpenter's The Thing, definitely check this one out. Check out all Cronenberg's films. I still need to check out some. I hear Videodrome and Existence are even better than this one. So I'll have to check those out as well. But yeah, really cool, interesting narrative, awesome villain, great premise. The ending's great. Awesome effects. Like, it's just a solid, awesome sci-fi film. So, yeah, Scanners, check it out. Hello there. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you're unfamiliar with this channel, this is Nerd Out Sanctuary. I'm your host, Michael. What do I talk about, you say? Well, I talk about anything nerdy. So that's movies, video games, TV shows, comic books every once in a while. Books, maybe not, I don't know. Anything that I feel like talking about. I'm a huge nerd. I hope you're a huge nerd, and I hope we can enjoy our nerdiness together here. This is a full audio podcast available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, the major podcast platforms. So consider going over to those and checking out the full version of the episode. And other past episodes, please leave me a review and subscribe on those platforms. If you don't want to do that, clipped, shorter versions of those full episodes will be posted here on YouTube. So consider subscribing and liking the videos for more to support me and future content that I will be producing in the future on nerdy stuff. So yeah, thank you, and see you on the next one.